So there's a lot of stuff going on in the legal AI world, and it can be overwhelming deciding on what platforms to use. Do you buy a legal tech tool? Do you build automation yourself? Do you build it using no code tools or low code tools? My goal today is to give you a roadmap that you can just copy and paste. This is a custom roadmap tailored for smaller firms. So we're talking less than 10 attorneys. It can work for some bigger firms, but mainly less than 10 attorneys. My goal is for you to be able to take this roadmap and just follow these exact steps so that you can get a very clear map of what your business or your firm looks like now and what the technology, AI, automation, APIs, RPA stuff, all those terms, what that technology is capable of. And then for you to be able to put together a coherent plan for you to apply that technology to your firm and see actual return on investment from it. So that's our goal today is we're going to build out a roadmap that you can follow step by step to understand the technology really well, and then to be able to map your business processes, identify the best and highest return on investment use cases, and actually figure out what you're going to do to actually implement those and get those up and running in your firm. There are basically two key components to it. One, you have to understand your firm well and have mapped the processes in your firm and business well. And then two, you have to understand the technology and what it's capable of. We're actually going to start with the second one. We're going to talk about the tech first and what the tech can do on a really high level. And then we'll talk about how you can actually map the processes in your firm and figure out what's going on now and how you can optimize that. We're going to talk about 4 levels of automation today. Level 1 automation is going to be RPA, robotic process automation, and API automation. Level 2 is going to be AI automation. Level 3 is going to be agentic workflows, AI agents basically. And then level 4 is mapping humans in the loop basically. So the predecessor to all of the automation technology that we're using today is something called robotic process automation. That's basically where you would program a series of clicks into a script, and then you would run that script on a desktop, and you'd have a robot essentially click the exact same positions on the screen over and over again to automate a process, right? It's called RPA. These are platforms like UiPath. These are good for really basic, tedious things, right? Things that dragging and dropping files from one place to another, or copying and pasting something from one place to another, or going on sites and finding someone's name and email, that kind of stuff, and putting it in a spreadsheet. So that really tedious manual tasks that don't require any thinking capability. That's what we're talking about, RPA. And then I include API automation in here as well, because to me, it's the same level in the sense of these are tasks that don't require any thought to execute. Say, for example, you want to send an email or a Slack notification every single time you get an email. That's an API automation. To me, that's a level 1 automation, right? Because you're not analyzing the email, you're not classifying it, you're just sending a notification that an email arrived every single time a notification hits. Or someone signs up for your newsletter and you automate sending them emails, right? To me, that's a level 1 automation. Level 2 automation is when we start to incorporate AI in this process. So this is where we can do things that are a little bit more dynamic. This is summarization. This is extracting key variables from documents. In a very high level way, you can think about a useful use case for AI is when you're unsure of the type of data that's going to be coming in, but you're sure of the type of data that needs to come out. So if you are going to be receiving documents that are always in a different format, or sometimes they're handwritten, or sometimes they're coming from different providers, and you want to always extract the same key details from those documents and output that in the same way every single time, that's a very useful use case for AI. And if we go back to level 1 automation is where we always know exactly what's coming in, and we always know exactly what needs to go out, right? So if the data coming in is the same as the data coming out, we can use a level 1 automation. When there's more variance in the data coming in and we need to keep a standard output, then we use a level 2 automation. Then when we start thinking about agentic workflows, so we talk about agents, AI agents basically. So when we take an LLM and then we give it memory and we give it tools to be able to interact with the world. And then also there's going to be some component of a prompt, a system prompt, where you tell the agent what it is doing, what its role is, and how it should act. But the main components of an agent are the memory aspect and the tools aspect, meaning that it can interact with the world and can also remember things that it's done in the past and conversations that it's had in the past. So it makes something agentic. We're now expanding the domain of what our system can do when we make it agentic. Agentic workflows you can think of now as handling variants of data that comes in due to the AI aspect. So we can handle different types of documents, different types of inputs. It may be a conversational agent where you're having a conversation with someone who's asking a bunch of different questions. You can handle all those different inputs coming in, but you can also, with an agentic workflow, you can create different types of outputs coming out. So you can respond to questions. It can get information from a database. It could execute actions in your case management system. It could execute actions in your CRM. It could send emails for you, manage your calendar. The scope of actions that it can take as a result of its processing is much greater now. That's what makes something agentic. And then level 4 automation is basically the combination of all three of those plus human input as well, right? So we're talking about a situation where you've gone through, and I'm going to show you how to do this in a minute, but where you've mapped your processes in your firm, where you've identified which processes require level 1, level 2, level 3, and which processes require either human review or humans to execute the process. And then we've built out a system end to end that has either sped up that entire process by a lot or augmented the process, meaning that you can do things in that process that you couldn't do before without technology. Once we have a pretty holistic understanding of the different levels of automation and what we're capable of at each level, now we can start to think about what can our firm look like, what can our business look like after having applied holistically a suite of these automations essentially, right? So this is where we start talking about a vision. So that's going to depend on what type of practice you have. Obviously, if it's a transactional practice or if you guys are doing flat fee stuff, it's going to be very different than if you guys are billing by the hour, right? If you're billing by the hour, then you want to map all the time you're spending on admin work and figure out how you can get yourself and your team to spend as little time on admin work and as much time on billable work, right? If you are doing flat fee stuff, then you may want to figure out how much of the process you can automate from end to end or how much you can speed that process up so you can get more business in. Maybe it's something to do with your client relationships, right? Maybe you're doing probate law or something like that. You want to be able to maintain a really high touch sort of relationship with your clients, and you want them to be able to have access to information all the time, essentially, right? So then that's where you may be thinking about a solution that's taking some of the information in your firm and some of the conversations you've had with clients in the past, and then having a chat bot with that knowledge base to be able to interact with your clients and improve that client relationship. So it all depends on what your objective is. Once you understand the technology and what the technology is capable of, then you have to define what exactly you're trying to achieve by implementing the technology. This is really what determines whether or not your implementation is going to be successful or not. Do you understand what the technology can do? And then do you have a very set, specific objective that you can clearly scope and define? You also have to define what success looks like as well. So you have to be able to define what your objective is, and then what does it look like when you guys have been successful in actually achieving that objective? Is it reducing the time spent on admin tasks by 5 or 10 hours a week, which again is going to require you to build out a system to track those things and actually map your processes and track what you're doing, what you're spending time doing now? Is it being able to get more business in? Is it being able to get more handle more estates, or being able to get more flat fee work done, right? It's really important to be able to define what you're trying to achieve so that we can measure success. We've progressed down the path now, right? We understand the technology, what it can do, what it can't do. We understand what we would like it to do. Now we have to figure out what we're currently doing, and not just, I think I'm doing this, or I feel like this would be helpful. We have to figure out ways to actually map your processes in a way that's measurable and backed by data. So I'm going to go over a few different tools that you can use now. Some of them free, some of them you may have already. If you're in the Microsoft ecosystem, you may already have access to these tools. You can even use your favorite LLMs. I'm going to show you how to do that now to map your processes. But that's the next step of the process, right? Is actually mapping out what your workflow looks like now. So now we get into the fun stuff, mapping processes. We're going to go over a few different resources that I'm going to give you guys to be able to map your processes. Starting off with this custom GPT that I've built out. This is just a custom version of ChatGPT that I've given specific knowledge and a specific prompt to be able to assist you guys in figuring out where the automation and AI opportunities are for you, and sort of what your AI transformation or journey will look like as you get that implementation underway. There's a pretty extensive prompt in here, kind of outlining everything that it should do to help you out. And then there's also a lot of context in here. So I've given it information about the different no-code and low-code platforms. These are things like Zapier.com, Make, N8N, these platforms that allow you to connect and build different workflows out. It has a file where it has information about large language models, small language models, a general AI file. It has a specific legal tech file, a file for different legal practice areas, legal ops file, security file, cost and benefit and ROI analysis, client communication, ethics and regulatory, vendor evaluation guide, and change management. So this can basically help you out with figuring out what your AI journey specifically should look like for your firm. I'm going to give you guys the link to this. It'll be there for you in the description below this video. I'll just show you really quickly how you can use this basically. So if I come into this custom GPT, I can select one of the conversation. I'll select one of the conversation starters and I'll say, help me to build a complete AI transformation roadmap for my law firm. And it will just give you sort of a high level way of thinking about how to analyze your current state, how to analyze the desired outcomes, the different tech stack that you can use, so different automation platforms, the different legal tech platforms you could use, then think about implementation in different phases, and kind of walk you through an entire process, right? And you could obviously go back and forth with this custom GPT and ask different questions about how this transformation will look for your firm. And now what I'm going to show you how to do is how to use your everyday LLMs, ChatGPT or Claude, and show you how you can actually use them to help you map your processes in a visual manner. The first thing that you'll need to do is actually have an account with Figma. Figma allows you to visualize workflows, and it's a free platform, so you can get signed up with your free account. And what you're going to do is you're going to come into ChatGPT. You'll click your name in the bottom left, your name icon. You'll click on settings, and you'll come into apps and connectors. And then what you're going to want to do is, I already have Figma connected, but you're going to want to connect your Figma account in here. And then basically from there, once we have our Figma account connected, I can just turn on the microphone feature on ChatGPT. I can tell it everything about my firm, right? And so you'll probably get more value out of doing this for 10 or 15 minutes than you will in paying somebody $10,000 to do an audit for you, right? So what you can do is just come in here, just tell ChatGPT everything about your law firm. So here, for example.
Hey, my name's Joe, and I run a family law firm. I do about 80% divorces. It's me, and I have one other associate, so there's two of us, and we have one paralegal as well on the team. The way that our workflow works usually is we have a client will come in or reach out to the firm, either via the website or on social media in some way. And then what will happen is they'll call the firm, we'll have an initial call, we'll decide whether they want to become a client or not. Then from there we send out the engagement letter, they respond to the engagement letter, and then after that they pay the retainer. Then after that we have another meeting where we get certain documents from them. Then we fill out documents on our end, and then we go to court. Can you help me to identify? First of all, I want you to build a Figma diagram of my process.
And then we'll go from there. So help me to build out a Figma diagram that shows my process. Okay, and so once I've said all of that, everything about my firm, then I can just click enter, and then ChatGPT will go and it'll build out an actual diagram that will help me to visualize the processes in my firm. And so we have here a visual process of exactly what I just outlined. And obviously what I outlined was very straightforward, but you may outline something a lot more complicated with a lot more, conditional logic in here. But this just helps you to start to get a visual picture of what's actually going on in your business. And then it becomes a lot easier for you to start to understand how you can automate certain things or how you could use technology to augment certain processes within your business from there. So that's one thing I highly, highly recommend is just spend 5, 10, 15 minutes just telling ChatGPT everything about your firm. Connect Figma into ChatGPT, and then have ChatGPT build out a Figma board with a visual representation of everything that's going on in your firm. And if you are somebody who uses Claude, then we're going to do the exact same thing, but we're just going to replace Figma with mermaid chart. So let's see, mermaid chart. And then Claude will build out a mermaid chart for us, and we can take that and take it over to a visualizer and see the entire process visualized for us. Okay, and so Claude has actually created a mermaid chart for us. Again, obviously what I said was a really simple process. You will probably have a lot more steps than this and a lot more logic in your business than this, but it's a really good way to start visualizing where your processes are at now. You can also take the code from this and go over to a mermaid visualizer and paste that in here, and then you should be able to look at your mermaid chart in a visualizer as well. Right, so now we have this here. This is a mermaid chart as well. I believe we should be able to edit. We can edit the diagram in here as well, but these are basically two ways that you can use your existing LLMs to help you map your processes. And then when we talk about taking this a step further, we also want to be able to measure ROI, and we want to be able to make sure that what we're doing, whatever we're building out, is actually backed by data. And so the best way to do that is with something called process mining. And so if you're a firm that's in Microsoft, this is a resource that's already available to you within the Microsoft Power Automate ecosystem. So you're going to want to come to Power Automate, and then you'll come to the process mining section here. And from here, you can actually turn this on and have it watch everything that you do on your computer. I believe you can do it across multiple different computers under an organization. And then you can gather the data of the actual activities that people are doing over a period of a few days or a few weeks, and that can allow you to make actual data-driven decisions about the automations that you build out, about how you implement AI in your firm. And you can also much more clearly measure the actual ROI for any implementation work that you do. So those are some of the resources you have at your disposal to actually be able to map your processes and make data-backed decisions about the automations that you're going to build out. You can connect Figma to ChatGPT and visualize all your processes that way. You can have Claude generate a mermaid map for you so you can visualize your processes that way. And then you have within the Microsoft ecosystem process mining stuff, which allows you to actually see what everyone is doing within your organization and make real data-backed decisions about what your next steps forward are going to be with AI, with automation. And then you also want to think about what changes are you going to make in terms of your processes, right? So with automation, there are certain things that you can replace, meaning you can end-to-end, full stop, just replace the process and not have a human being do it, have an automation do the entire thing. Then there are things that you can make a lot more efficient. There's a ton of things that AI can help you do much more quickly. And then there's also the augmentation aspect of things. So doing things more efficiently is different than augmenting your ability to do things. So for example, having AI review all of your cases and give you a summary of the most high priority things that you should be doing today, that's an augmentation thing. It's not necessarily an efficiency thing. Sort of the final step is innovation. It's thinking about new ways to do things, ways that you can deliver value to your clients that haven't been done before. So you have efficiency on the one hand, which is doing what already exists in a faster manner or a cheaper manner or a less energy expensive manner. Then you have innovation, which is coming up with new ways of doing things, where technology now gives us the capacity to solve problems in new ways. And I really encourage you to take a holistic perspective and think about the entire journey of your firm or your business from pre-AI integration to post-AI integration, what it's going to look like. I encourage you not to be caught up in shiny objects and new tools or this automation or that workflow, but to really think about going in deep and mapping your processes and then figuring out how you're going to use the technology to transform your business. So what goes hand in hand with that is having the technical and domain expertise in the same place. So the legal expertise, but also having within your firm in some way, shape, or form, somebody that understands the technology as well. If you look at Cleary Gottlieb, is a very big law firm that acquired an AI company, right? So they acqui-hired essentially, and bringing the development team internally and having that technical expertise within their firm. Looking out into the future, every firm, every law firm, every business is going to have to do this in some capacity. There's a famous article from Mark Andreessen called "Software Ate the World," or "Software is Eating the World," where essentially he was making the point that every company now is becoming a software company. This is probably 2011 that this article came out. We're reaching a point now where every company is a software company, a media company, and soon will be also an AI company, regardless of what industry you're in. The people who jump on this opportunity early and bring that expertise within their business, within their law firm, within their small business, these are the ones who are going to have the advantage moving forward. So you may not be in a situation like a Cleary Gottlieb where you can acquire an AI company, right? But for smaller firms, it may look like working with an agency on an ongoing basis or a consultant or something like that to help you make that leap from a pre-AI business to a post-AI business. We're entering an age where technology and media can increase the capacity and the output of really small teams to be able to do more than what big companies are able to do, or at least equal what big companies are able to do. And that's something that's very central and important to me, because I think smaller teams, smaller businesses are easier to work for if you're an employee. They usually give better service because the people are invested in their own business. So for the customers and clients, they usually get better service. And then even from a partnership perspective, or from working for myself, my own experience working with these smaller firms and smaller businesses, I found they tend to be better clients as well. So that's a large part of my mission, is trying to give you guys the tools, the smaller firms, the smaller businesses, the tools and access to the technology that can actually help you to augment and increase your capacity. And so you can maximize the personal effectiveness, you can maximize the revenue per employee, and you can get a lot more done. You can serve more clients, you can have a bigger impact without necessarily having to scale your team and scale your headcount to where you're not able to move quickly and where the level of service that you're giving your clients is deteriorating. I really believe that technology gives you the ability to be able to scale your business, to make more of an impact, to do more of what you're really great at doing without having to incur the extra cost of bringing more people on. So That's how I think about things. I encourage you guys to think about it in a similar way. So if you're just getting started, you're not necessarily sure where to start with AI implementation in your law firm, then definitely check out the resources that I have in the description for you. Talk to that custom GPT I have. Talk to your LLM. Get it to help you come up with ideas of different things you could build out to help your practice improve. And also visualize your practice as well. So if you're at a point to where you feel like you're pretty much ready to get up and running with implementation, there's a link that you can click on in the description. We can hop on a quick call and we can see about getting things up and running for you. So that's pretty much everything for this video. It's a roadmap, right? It's copy and paste, how you can take the information you currently have about your firm, how you can gain that knowledge about what the technology is capable of doing for your firm, and then how you can create a vision for yourself of what you want your firm to look like, having integrated that technology and actually step by step go through and implement these different builds and actually make sure that you're seeing ROI for these different builds. If you like the video, I ask that you leave a like, comment anything. If you guys like these sort of videos, I know this was a little bit less technical, a little bit more high level. So if you like these sort of videos, let me know. And also subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss any more videos like these. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.